Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. I'm Tony Ndoro live from Johannesburg, and these are your top stories tonight. Rescue teams are on the ground in Mozambique as the country braces for Cyclone Idai, which is expected to make landfall this evening. Some panic as commuters brace themselves for the shutdown of 6 taxi routes in Soweto. And calls are made for Gauteng MEC for Sport and Recreation, Faith Mazibuko, to be sacked after a racist rant. Now, Mozambique is bracing for Cyclone Idai, and unfortunately, at least 66 people have already died in flooding, and hundreds of thousands are expected to be affected when Idai makes landfall this evening. Gift of the Givers, in a statement, said it's on standby to deploy rescuers or rescue teams to Mozambique. Our reporter, Dason Thathia, is in Mozambique, and we can cross to him now. Dason, we can see now you're in Mozambique. Please tell us, the cyclone Idai is expected to make landfall earlier this evening. Has it done so? And what can we expect from that cyclone? Okay. Looks like Dason Thathia is struggling to hear us. Let me try one more time. Dason, can you hear me? Okay, Dason, it seems like he can't hear us. He is in Soweto, not in Soweto, he's actually in Mozambique at the moment. We will see if we can get him to talk to us, speak to us a little bit later on. But let's have a listen to this from earlier on that we got from Mozambique.
We're offering them the assistance of 15 trained personnel, paramedics and advanced rescue practitioners, and we are being put in touch with disaster management, which is going to be at Villankoulas, which we're going to go to today. It's about 700 kilometers from here.
That's the first leg of the journey.
That's the first leg of the journey. We'll sleep there tonight. We will then go and offer our services, so we're being absolutely non-prescriptive. We will just offer them the assistance of the team. We will give them a team breakdown. We will give them a list of the type of equipment that we've brought with to be able to do the type of rescue that they may require, and then we will work wherever they would like us to help.
Now, Soweto commuters are bracing themselves for being late at work and school. From tomorrow, the Gauteng Transport MEC is shutting down 6 major taxi routes and ranks for 3 months. That's because of violence that left at least 3 people dead and injured 6 others. The commuters are saying the alternative transport government officials want them to use is unreliable and is unsafe. Malungelo Boy tells us more.
Rebecca Dolly Mofokeng is bracing herself for a hair-raising 3 months. Every day, she leaves her house for work at 4:45 in the morning. She takes 2 taxis to arrive at 6 a.m. But from Friday, she has to find other means to travel.
My 5:15, sesise dropping. Ukhona ukuthola itaxi yakho eRosebank, ufika kahle ngesikhathi.
So mama sizothini?
Inayo inkinga la ikhona. Fanele ngithathe yona lori yavaya. Ezofika injani igcwele i-T1. Yagcwala futhi.
Go.
Julius Majosi is arriving home from work. The first conversation he has with his wife is about the 6 routes closures.
Tomorrow, the plan is that I'm going to try the trains, which I'm not sure of because there's a lot of delays on trains.
He spends about 1,500 rand a month to get to work in Centurion using taxis. He's now considering joining a lift club.
We don't support the decision to shut down, but we support it in this fashion. Killings of people, innocent people, is not good. The better option is to sit down on a table and discuss. Whoever is defeated, compromise.
While Ismail Vadi's actions have been criticized by some commuters and taxi operators, the South African Transport and Allied Workers Union has commended the MEC's decision, saying hopefully it will quell the spate of violence. But the union admits the decision will also impact negatively the township economy in general, but also poor and working class commuters. Malungelo Boy, Soweto.
The Ahmed Kathrada Foundation is calling on Gauteng Premier David Makhura to fire MEC for Sport and Recreation Faith Mazibuko for what it calls a racist and sexist rant. In an audio recording of a meeting between Mazibuko and her staff, the MEC is heard pressuring them to fast-track the delivery of sporting facilities to communities. Mazibuko has since issued an apology for her conduct.
How you do it, if it means you go fly a magic, you better do it. No roll over of that money. We can't be standing in communities and promise them come because and not deliver. We can't. What? No sauce. One is whatever. A combi must get in. Two is Melba's drift. Is it Melba's drift, just look? It's Melba's drift. That combi want to use it to campaign to win elections.
If it's lawful, we will do everything.
Or bring your resignation letters. That's what I want. Combi or resignation letters.
3 teenagers suspected of the murder of a Mondio High School pupil have been arrested. Kulani Matebula was stabbed to death while walking to school on Wednesday. Police Minister Becky Taylor says talks with the Department of Education are underway to curb violence at schools. Lindo Kuhlekulu has the story.
The sound of a mother's grief echoed down the street. But Furnace Road has gone quiet again. The bitter memory of a young life lost still hangs in the air though. A cross in remembrance of Kulani Matebula now adorns the crime scene. This site is a minute away from the police station and a few more from Mondio High School, where candles now burn in his memory. This latest incident has thrust school safety and an apparent lack of policing back into the spotlight.
We need to see it in practical, sense to say there is some sense of visibility in our schools because there is an acknowledgement, there is a commitment. Let's see it happening practically.
We want proper trained security personnel inside our schools so that they can deal with such issues.
Police Minister Becky Taylor says he shares in these concerns. He says talks are underway between the Department of Education and police to find a lasting solution. But that does not entail having police vans on school premises.
I'm saying we are not going to wake up at the next morning and make schools the crime scenes when they're not crime scenes. But when police are put in a way of responding quick, as it happened at Edenvale, police responded quickly. We put those mechanisms.
The Sinoville Crisis Center says the scourge of violence is as a result of what's perpetuated in society daily.
It's violence that emanates from somewhere else. Children don't become violent out of own accord. It's something that they see, it's something that they go through.
A memorial service for Matebula will be held at Mondio High School on Friday. Lindo Kuhlekulu, Johannesburg.
Now, the first of our sister channel ENCA's town hall meetings kicked off in Cape Town this morning. The event is part of a series of similar meetings to take place across the country in the run-up to the May 8th elections. And as expected, emotions ran high as citizens came face-to-face with senior Western Cape politicians.
Our policy is to reject all these capitalist parties. When the election comes and goes, there will still be massive unemployment.
My question to Alan Winde and to Patricia de Lille is this. Alan Winde, when you speak about crime, would you concur with me that the expropriation of the land must go hand in hand with the fighting of crime? And why did you not raise the expropriation issue? Will you support the president if he tells my people of Mitchell's Plain, now you can go back to Kirstenbosch, now you can go back to Muizenberg? Will you tell these people they can now go to Fourth Beach? They can now go live in Stellenbosch? Would you tell them that? Patricia de Lille, you said nothing about the expropriation of the land.
I'm here to say to the community out there, vote is what is needed. And you need to be careful how you're going to place that vote.
With that, let's take a look at other local news. The lion that escaped the Karoo National Park outside Beaufort West a month ago has been found. A search party eventually found it almost 300 kilometers from the park outside Sutherland in the Northern Cape. The lion spent last night in a Sutherland jail cell after being darted from a helicopter. And more than half of the lesser flamingo chicks that survived the drought in the Northern Cape will soon be reunited with their colony. 2,000 birds were taken into care after their dam outside Kimberley ran dry in January. They are now being reared at 7 institutions across the country. Stay with us. Coming up on eNews, Nigerian authorities halt attempts to find survivors after the collapse of a building in Lagos.
And in your business news, the rand has fallen around 9% in the last 2 months, and this despite global conditions largely favoring risk assets. We'll find out just why.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Rofio Madzena is with me now for some business news and bad news. The Standard Bank is about to close 91 branches.
That's right, Tony. So Standard Bank came out with a release this afternoon indicating that they will be closing 91 of its branches within the country by the end of June this year. And they've highlighted that this is going to affect about 1,200 employees across the country. They did try to provide some comfort, though, saying that they will be investing some funds in reskilling those that will be affected so that they can enter the labor market and be afforded a chance to get some jobs. They will also be offering really good severance packages to those that are affected above and beyond what the Labour Act requires. Yeah. So that's a bit of comfort that they're offering there. But it's a bigger story because banks in the country, the big four, are really feeling the pinch. The issue here is digitization. Consumers are no longer needing to walk into a branch to conduct their banking affairs. They are using their cell phones, and the banks are feeling this. And this, coupled with operating costs, means a lot of the banks are going to be having to shed those overheads, Tony.
It's ironic, isn't it? Because there's some of the staff who came up with those apps. It's very ironic. Now, disappointing data out today from the mining and manufacturing sectors.
That's right, Tony. So it was a busy economics data week for us here. We saw mining and manufacturing data coming out. Mining output shrinking for the 6th time in 8 months in December. And this is due to gold, iron ore and coal production, which were reduced due to strike action, lack of power, as well as higher operating costs. On the manufacturing side, we saw that it was down 2% month on month, and this is its worst level in a year. And we're seeing a depressed demand globally for South African manufactured goods. So this will be affecting the economy, because this means that the growth outlook based on the lack of production will really affect that growth that we're seeing by Treasury saying will be growing by 1.5%. It might not happen.
Sad. Bad day today. And the markets?
Not a great day on the markets either today, Tony. So the JSE closed a little lower today as gloomy local and international data weighed on sentiment. And the shares that reacted to this were the food and drug retailers, which were down 1.6%, and general retailers, which lost 1.4%. On the commodities front, could oil reach that $70 a barrel mark? Well, traders are keeping an eye on that global production cuts and disruption in Venezuela, and this points to that direction. Meanwhile, gold has lost some ground, but it has maintained its 2-week highs. Onto the local unit now. It did break through the 14.50 Rand mark, and this is after British MPs rejected a no-deal Brexit. Now, this sent the Rand into a 4-month low against the pound.
Okay. Thanks for all of that bad news.
You're welcome, Tony.
Rofio Madzena with the business news now. Let's take a look at international news. The Nigerian officials still can't say how many people died in yesterday's building collapse. Only one body was recovered overnight, and rescuers have now stopped looking for survivors. Nearly 50 people have been pulled from the rubble. Residents say around 100 children were attending schools in the 4-story building when it caved in. Emotional scenes today at the crash site of the Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302. Families of some of the victims wept as they paid their respects. 9 Ethiopians were among the 157 people on board when the jet crashed shortly after takeoff in Addis Ababa on Sunday. All right, stay with us on eNews. Coming up ahead, Jeffrey Stevens has got some sports news.
Soweto Sharks hooker Chili Boy Rolapele pleads his innocence in the doping scandal.
After the break, we go to Candice, who's at our weather center for your live weather report. She's standing right there. And then this as well. The Soweto Gospel Choir is recognized for its sterling contribution to the country. More on that shortly. Welcome back. Candice McKechnie standing by from the Weather Center. Good evening, Candice. Has Cyclone Idai made landfall yet in Mozambique?
Hi, good evening. Well, it hasn't quite made landfall yet. It only makes landfall in about 2 hours' time, but it is edging closer and closer to the Mozambican coastline, and it's already brought in lots of rainfall and strong winds with it, and we're expecting torrential downpours as well as storm strength winds, as well as a very strong storm surge with this particular system. It's going to be a very unpleasant day on Friday. Much quieter in the weather in South Africa, though, with some morning fog over parts of the northeastern and eastern interior, as well as fog patches along the west coast. We'll see a few isolated thunder showers over the southern and southeastern part of the country, with a dry forecast in the northeast. In the Northern Cape, we're expecting a sizzling hot afternoon for Uppington at 39 degrees, with some fog into Alexander Bay. Thunder showers are expected mainly over the southern part of the province. It'll be a predominantly dry day for the Western Cape, a sunny 31 for Cape Town, partly cloudy at 25 for George, with a few thunder showers into Beaufort West and Oudtshoorn. Isolated thunder showers are expected throughout the Eastern Cape, with most maximum temperatures heading into the 20s. We'll also see thunder showers over the southern part of KZN, dry in the north, Ulundi and Richards Bay at 30. We keep it around 30 for Secunda and Standerton, with some morning light rain for Bombela at 26. We're also expecting some morning drizzle for Zanin and Toya and Do. Sunny and hot as we head further west. Dry weather persists for northwest, with most maximum temperatures peaking in the low 30s. Partly cloudy at 31 for Bloemfontein, with a predominantly dry day for the Free State, other than isolated thunder showers for Zastron at 26 degrees. Sunny and dry for Gauteng, Soweto and Johannesburg at 28, Pretoria topping 30 degrees. Then as we head towards the weekend, we'll see a few isolated thunder showers over the central and eastern parts, partly cloudy and dry with warm to hot temperatures across the country. Sizzling hot for KZN on Sunday, with a warm day along South Africa's coastline, and we'll see those thunderstorms picking up again across the interior. That's all from the Weather Centre. Have a good night.
All right, thank you so much, Candice, there with the weather details going into the weekend. Now, finally, the Soweto Gospel Choir has been honoured by President Cyril Ramaphosa for its sterling contribution to the country. Last month, the choir won its 3rd Grammy. Today, an event to show the country's appreciation was held in Newtown, Johannesburg. Kylie Kumalo was there.
One of the country's finest international exports. The Soweto Gospel Choir continues to bask in glory after it's bagged a third Grammy Award for the album Freedom. But now, a different occasion, as members were honored by the first citizen.
You're also the most active export that we have, because your name reverberates right throughout the world.
Since the choir was founded in 2002, it's been a leader in showcasing South African culture abroad.
I'm feeling very much happy. I know the president is from Shawela, so that's where I'm from. So yeah, it's been like a wonderful, especially to be honored at home.
The president met the Soweto Gospel Choir in Newtown, South Africa's musical hub, but he also challenged them to reflect on problems confronting South Africa while flying the country's flag high. Kylie Kumalo, Johannesburg.
Okay, that's it from me and the team behind the scenes. Good night.